Students, today we are going to study the concept of the pollination process. Just to recall what was done last time. This is your flower, the structure, the longitudinal section we have studied. Okay, and in that we have completely studied about the male reproductive system. So that is your anther, the whole stamen, in that the anther, within the anther the microsporangium, then the microsporangium producing microspores which later develop into male gametophyte called pollen grain, and this pollen grain will be transferred onto the stigma, and this process of transfer is your pollination. You have already studied about the female reproductive system also in flower. So you have studied about the gynoecium, you have studied about the parts of gynoecium and the female gametophyte, that is your embryo sac. So this is just to recall how plants have reproduced. Now we are just talking about your under pre-fertilization. You have finished about the structure and the events. Okay. Now you are studying, that is the gametogenesis is clear. Now you are studying the gamete transfer under pre-fertilization. So what is that gamete transfer? Grain from the anther depositing on the stigma of the same or different flower. Okay. So without any delay, I'll start with the topic pollination. The definition can be asked for 1 mark question. So it is the transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma takes place within the same flower or different flower. Please add the word here which. Okay. Stigma. This is transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma which take place here, which take place within the same flower or within different flowers. So you have got one idea here. There's a plant. Okay, there is one flower here. It may be the same flower or it may be the different flower. You can see on the same plant there are 2 flowers. It can be on the different flower but on the same plant, or it may be of 2 different. Imagine there's one more plant here. Okay, genetically different from this plant to this plant, different plants. Okay, so that's why this particular definition, transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma, okay, within the same flower or different flower. So to understand the types of pollination, you have already come across the types in your lower classes. There is your self-pollination and cross-pollination. Self means within the same flower, cross means different flowers. Okay, so this was in your lower classes, which we are not going as your types. We are not studying them as the types. We are studying under them the detailed types. So in your textbook, they have highlighted these 3 types of pollination. So what are those 3 types? Autogamy, geitonogamy, xenogamy. Okay, very important 3-mark question. Name the types of pollination occurring in plants. So starting with your general, this is your self-pollination and this is your cross-pollination. But we are not studying as self and cross itself. We are studying into your detailed structure. You'll understand what are these. Okay. First, let me explain according to the textbook. I've given the information here. So you have to follow for the 3-mark answer. If they ask, explain the 3 types, then you have to give the following explanation. So the first type is autogamy. When I say autogamy, it is self. So it is a type of self-pollination. So your self-pollination, under that one type is autogamy. Or you can say autogamy is another term for self-pollination. So it is a type of self-pollination. Transfer of pollen grains from the anther to stigma takes place within the same flower. Okay. So remember, it takes place within the same flower, that is autogamy. The transfer takes place within the same flower. Now these are the 2 conditions for autogamy. What could be possible for self-pollination? So there are 2 possibilities or 2 conditions which allows self-pollination, that is anther and stigma mature at the same time and release the gametes at the same time. So you can see here synchronization. So anther and stigma synchronization. When pollen is released, stigma also should be ready to receive it. Okay. Then second, the position or the distance between anther and stigma. Both should be close. I've highlighted it. Okay. So whatever is bold in letters, see that those are your two conditions. Can be asked for 2 marks. Okay. Coming to the two types of autogamous flowers. So see the words and the colors which I have highlighted. Chasmogamous and Cleistogamous flowers. First let me explain the Chasmogamous flower. These are open flowers. I hope you can see here open flowers. Cleistogamous, it is closed flowers. Okay. So just to give you an idea, first let me explain what is there in that. I have highlighted as blue here. Anther and stigma are exposed. Okay. Then, so since they are exposed, they give a chance for cross pollination. So these 2 points you have to remember in your mind as a key point. Cleistogamous, here it is highlighted, not exposed. The flowers are not exposed, but they lie close enough for transfer. What lies close enough? The anther and stigma. Okay, so you have to modify the sentence for differences. Anther and stigma are not exposed, but lie close enough for transfer. Whatever I highlighted is the keyword. You have to start the sentence from here. Anther and stigma are not exposed, but lie close enough for the transfer. So this is in case of closed flower. So since it is closed, it is not allowing to go out. Therefore, the cross pollination is not there. It allows only self-pollination. Only self-pollination. So here there are various types of pollinators. It can be your bee, honeybee. It can be the wind which carries the pollen grains. So all those are your open flowers. Different types of agents are there. It may be the wind, it may be the butterfly, it can be any bird. So that is what they are telling. The open flowers. Okay, open flowers. There are many. These are the examples. Viola, oxalis and commelina. You can observe here. Can you see commelina? You can find it in your garden. They have grown, widely. That's why it is commelina. And oxalis. You remember in Sisters, the garden, we had seen this plant. So you got the scientific name oxalis. Why the term oxalis? See the leaves, purple in color, and there are 3 leaves. So they are trifoliate leaves. Forget about the leaves now. We are only talking about the flowers. They are open flowers. Okay. Even here, viola, you can see they are open flowers. So this is Chasmogamous. What is Cleistogamous? See here. It is closed. You remember your pea plant? Remember this one, we say Shankapushpa. This is that, Clitoria and Pisum sativum, the pea plant, the pea flower. Okay. So just to recall, this is open flowers. Anthers and stigma are exposed. Give a chance for cross pollination. That is in Chasmogamous, open flowers. Cleistogamous, they are not exposed. Stigma and anther are not exposed, but they are close enough for the pollination process. They do not allow cross pollination. It is only self pollination. So is there requirement of pollinators? They barely require any pollinating agent. Whereas this Chasmogamous, they require the pollinating agents. You will understand about what is pollinating agents in detail later on. Let me just give you one idea. Pollinating agents are, it may be like a vector. It may be a honeybee carrying the pollen grains. It may be the wind that carries. It may be the human hand, or it may be the bird. So these are certain pollinating agents. So here pollinating agents required. In Cleistogamous, pollinating agents are not required or barely required. Okay. So remember the examples also. I want you all to include for the answer the difference between Chasmogamous and Cleistogamous flowers. I need you to write all these points. Okay, it's very important to include all the points, including your examples. Any one example you pick from here. Okay, so without further ado, I'm just going for the second type, Getinogamy. Okay, in this, it's a type of self-pollination. Remember, it is a type of self-pollination. Look at the next sentence. Transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma takes place between different flowers in the same plant. So you got the idea? Flower is different, but it is in the same plant. Just to make you more clear, this is the corn, the male inflorescence, the female inflorescence, which is enlarged and shown here. Okay, so whatever the male produces the pollen grains, it releases and falls down. So as it falls down, there are certain feathery like structures on the female reproductive part. That is the style actually, which is very long. So they will trap the pollen grains which is falling. I hope it is clear. So since it is on the same plant, okay, the transfer is on the same plant, we say it is self-pollination. Though it, when we say different flower, it appears to be, when we say different flower, it seems like cross-pollination. Okay, and it is also with the help of pollinators. But why are we saying it is self-pollination? Gametes are of the same plant. Okay, so gametes are of the same plant in origin. That's why it is self-pollination, not a cross-pollination. It is a self-pollination. So Getinogamy is a self-pollinating plant. So it is between different flowers in the same plant. This is very important. Example is corn plants. So you can see here, in reality, this is the male inflorescence. This is the female inflorescence. You can see all the styles that are coming. Your corn, how it looks. It has this fuzzy pony type at the tip of the corn. This is in detail how the pollen grains are fallen along with the anthers. You can see how the pollen grains are pointed out here. So just to make you clear, this is one plant. Okay, whatever I highlighted is different. Okay, that is another plant. Whatever is highlighted here is different plant. This is one whole plant. So on that same plant you can find 1, 2, 3 flowers, 4 flowers on the same plant. So if the pollination is within the same flower, then that is self-pollination. They have given the word. What is Gitanogamous pollination? On the same plant but different flower. Got the idea? Now we are going with the third type, that is different flower of different, genetically different plants. Genetically there is variation. That's why we say genetically different plants. So the third type is your cross-pollination, a type of cross-pollination called xenogamy. Xenogamy, the pollen grain transfer occurs across the flowers of two different plants. Okay, so your example is papaya, broccoli. Those are your examples. So this is your another definition. It is your deposition of pollen grains from the anther of one flower on the stigma of another flower which is genetically different. Okay, maybe of the same or different species, but it is very important term is genetically different. Okay, so you can say here, I've just repeated it again and again. No, it doesn't matter. Which is easy for you, you can write it. The very important term is your different flowers. Okay, that is genetically different flowers of the same species. This is how you can write. This is important. Okay, so it's a type of cross-pollination. So this is your papaya plant. Why it is now xenogamy, though they are papaya itself? Male plant is separate. Male plant you will find this male inflorescence. Female plant you will find female flowers like this. Okay, solitary flowers. So what you can tell here is they are two different plants. That's why it comes under xenogamy. Okay, it is not on the same plant. Same plant, if it was in papaya, it is always different plants. Male plant is different, female plant is different. So that is why here whatever the pollination occurs, it is genetically different but same species. It is papaya species itself. Okay. Then this is your broccoli. The inflorescence you can see. Okay, this is a little extra. Just for your CET point of view, I've just kept. The highlighted portion is the one which is extra. Okay. So this is already told, genetically different flowers of the same species. That is your xenogamy. Now for another term called allogamy comes. Okay. Allogamy means cross pollination. So that is your under cross pollination, one type is xenogamy. You have to remember that. What is allogamy? Same, transfer of pollen grains from anther to the stigma of another flower, either in the same plant like your getinogamy or in the different plant of the same species, that is xenogamy. So you can say getinogamy comes under allogamy, but the reason why we are not keeping under allogamy is it is of the same plant, and that is why in your present syllabus we are giving the next type of classification, that is according to your present syllabus we are following the three types of pollination to be autogamy, getinogamy and xenogamy. So autogamy and getinogamy are self-pollinating plants. Xenogamy is a type of cross-pollination. So is it clear? So that is your summary of your types of pollination. Okay, coming to your final, you can see your last type, that is your xenogamy. It's clear. There's one different plant far away, and that's why I've highlighted it. And this is how, from one plant to another plant, from one flower of one plant to another flower of totally different plant, genetically different plant. This is your xenogamy. Now we'll understand about the pollinating agents, which I said, which is required for the open flowers. So just observe here, you can find some animals, doing their part of pollination. You can see during the daylight, during the night time. So if you can identify, well and good. If you'll just observe, there's one over here, one here. So this is the rat, this is the bat, this is the moth, beetle. Okay, so this is in the night time. Daytime, wasp, your bee, maybe it is your bumblebee or it may be honeybee. There is your butterfly, there is your hummingbird. So there are few in this. So you can see the variety that is there. Okay, still minute may be present in this picture. Just to give you a better clarity, this is what is shown here. Bat, rat. So this is bat, rat, this beetle, this is your moth. So all those I've just said. Definition for what is pollinating agents. So these are the agents which are involved in transferring the pollen grains from one flower to another flower. That is called as pollinating agents. Okay. So what are those pollinating agents? It may be animal, it may be birds, insects, wind, water. So all these are your types of pollinating agents. So I'm classifying them as biotic and abiotic agents. So the examples may be, the agents of pollination may be abiotic or biotic. When I say the term abiotic, the one without life, wind and water. Biotic, the animals, the living creatures, insects, birds, humans. So please note this, the chances of pollination by abiotic agents, that is your wind or water, is uncertain. You cannot tell whether that wind and water will take it to your next, it can go and reach to the respective flower where it has to pollinate. You cannot assure that because the wind direction keeps changing. Okay, so, and even the pollen grains have their own lifespan. You have heard about your viability of pollen grain. So that's why we are saying it is uncertain. So to compensate this problem, this plant has, the angiosperms have made itself to produce large number of pollen grains. Okay, so it is not only in your angiosperms, it is for pollination process it's doing this way. You already have studied in algae, bryophytes. There are your mode of reproduction as your water. So in through water current, the gametes can reach towards the female. The male gametes can reach towards the female gamete. So you have studied there already, where male gametes are produced in large number, whereas female it is significantly reduced. Similarly, we are talking about the chances of pollination by abiotic is very uncertain. That is why, to compensate the problem, the plant can produce large number of pollen grains so that the chances of fertilization is more. So we are coming to the types of agents according to the terminologies. So there is anemophily, pollination by wind; hydrophily, pollination by water; zoophily, pollination by animals. So like that, these three are already there in your book. This part is extra information. So by bats, chireptophily, okay, chirepto your bats, chiroptera, that is your bats. Chiroptophily, pollination by bats. Okay, ornitho for birds. Okay, ornithophily. Malaco, that is for snails. Myrmeco, that is your ants. Entomo, insects. Okay, so all those you have to remember. I just said the first half of the name. Phily is the suffix. So you can see here some, showing it in a large picture. The beetles, the bat, butterflies, bees, birds. So this is even more in detail. They have shown the wasp, the moth, the beetles, the human ant because of the wind. Yes, so even there are flies. Okay, let us understand one by one how pollination by wind occurs. So those are the flowers which allow the pollination through wind are your anemophilic flowers. Okay, this pollination by wind is called as anemophily. So starting with your introduction, it is the most common abiotic pollinator. Remember, which is the most common abiotic pollinator? The answer is wind, the most common. We'll understand the pollen grain structure. It is lightweight, it is non-sticky and easily transported in the wind currents. Of course, if it is lightweight, it can be easily transported. And it is non-sticky. Why non-sticky? If it comes in contact with any of the other plant or any object, okay, it will stick over there itself, not allowing it to reach to the respective stigma. So if it is transported by wind, then it has to be non-sticky and it should be lightweight. Okay, this is what the condition or the structure of pollen grain is for the anemophily, that is your pollination by wind. So you can just observe here how the pollen grains are just released out and it is carried out by wind. So they are non-sticky, lightweight and easily carried by wind currents. So this is another important 2-mark question or 3-mark question. The flower structure of anemophilic flowers. So the flowers are well exposed. So the here abiotic pollinator is wind for the exposed flower. Okay, and the pollen grains are easily dispersed in the wind currents. Coming to the stigma, it is large and often feathery. Why it is large and often feathery? To trap the pollen grains. The ovary will consist of only single ovule and the flowers are arranged in inflorescence. Remember, the flowers are not attractive. That's why they are arranged in the inflorescence. So you just observe here, natural picture I've shown here. This is from your textbook. You can see how the female has long styles, that is feathery in nature, which creates that kind of trapping structure to trap the pollen grains. So individual flower is shown here. The male anther, the anthers which release the pollen grains, and female which is feathery over here. So they are a little longer. Here they have shown it as short structure. So I hope it is clear here. The female has, you can observe here, the female has long styles with sticky stigmas to trap the pollen grains. So you can see in natural how it looks. You can see here. This is not needed. Remember, this diagram is not needed. This is only for your idea. Even this diagram is not needed. Only your details are important. Only your details are important. Here there is no diagrams. Only details are important. Okay. So even this is a detail. Don't go to write all this. This is only a detail. Similar to your previous one, I have just given this as extra information. So here they have given, they do not have to attract the insects. Only they have to do is expose to the wind. So you can find in your grass, example is grass over here. So you have seen this particular similar pictures before also. So coming to the next type, that is hydrophilic flowers. Okay, so you have understood about anemophilic. What is anemophilic? Exposed flowers that releases the pollen grains directly into the wind currents. And the pollen grain is lightweight, non-sticky and easily carried by wind currents. Flower structures you have already understood. Pollen grains easily disposed. Stigma large and feathery to trap pollen grains. Ovary single ovule. Flowers arranged in inflorescence. So these are all your answers. If it is asked for 5 marks, you should write the whole thing. No diagrams. So directly coming to the next topic, that is hydrophilic flowers or pollination by water, hydrophily. Introduction. Under hydrophily, it is a rare process in the flowering plants or in the angiosperms. Why rare? See how much it is limited to. It is limited to 30 genera. Only 30 genus. Okay, and most of them are monocots. So you've already understood water to be the regular mode of transport water is a regular mode of transport of gametes in algae, bryophytes and pteridophytes. So that is a known information. But in case of angiosperms, we are saying it is a rare phenomenon, okay, limited to 30 genera and occurs mostly in monocots. So let us understand what is that. What is that hydrophily? So occurs in some hydrophytes, not all of them, some hydrophytes. I hope you all know what is hydrophytes. Plants, flowering plants that grow on water. So you know about your lotus flower, that is an open flower. It floats on water. So it does not require water for pollination. Okay, bees are enough. So here some of the hydrophytes only require water as the medium of pollination. The medium of pollination is water here. Okay, so only in some. So which are those some? Examples are right below. Can you see here? Vallisneria, hydrilla, which is the fresh water example. Zoostera, also called sea grasses, which is the marine example. So this is your important question. Give the examples of water pollinated hydrophytes or water pollinating plants. This is your answer according from your textbook taken examples. Vallisneria, hydrilla, and that is your fresh water, and Zoostera, that is marine form. So please see that most of them are making silly mistakes. Even after I've written in italics, your duty is to write the name, scientific name, and underline it. All of you all forget to underline. Please note, in biology, as it is typed, it is italics. If it is written, it is underlined, and you all are not underlining it. All of you all. So see that you all underline. Simply don't lose half mark for that. Okay, very important is underlining the scientific names. I hope it is clear now. Now this is a 3-mark question. The first example we are studying, the pollination in Vallisneria. So or water pollinated Vallisneria I have just given as heading. So if the question is asked, explain the process of pollination in Vallisneria, you should be able to explain all these points. So let us understand one by one. female flowers and male flowers, they are present on different plants. Okay, so they are submerged. These are submerged plants. This is from your textbook. This is your Vallisneria. This is the male flower. This is the female flower. Okay, first let me show you what happens here. So you can see the female part, which has a yellow, you can see a long stalk, and then the female flower is over here. Okay, the female flower is here. Okay, it's long enough and it is reaching the surface of the water. Whereas male inflorescence is here. Male, it is inflorescence, female is only a single flower. So from the male inflorescence, all the male flowers are released. Male flowers are released to the surface of the water. You can find many male flowers which are red in color here. So what are the chances of all of them meeting here? It depends on both the female part to be ready, as well as male flower with the mature pollen grains reaching to the sticky stigma. So once it is close to the, you can see how it is showing here in circles. Once it is close to the stigma, it tries to, this sticky stigma tries to, trap the male flowers. Once it is trapped because of the sticky nature, the male flower, as it releases the pollen grains, it will deposit on the stigma. Okay. So this is your, I hope it is clear. See, the plant is submerged, whereas flowers are released. Female flower will emerge to the surface. Okay. Female flower emerges to the surface, whereas male inflorescence releases the flowers to the surface of the water. You can see here something that is coiled. That is only after fertilization. The moment male flower comes and sticks to the female flower, it immediately pulls down into a coil structure. Okay. So here, making it a quick answer, female flowers reaches the surface of water by long stalk. Male flowers with pollen grains are released on the surface of water. Male flowers are carried passively by water current. Only few male flowers reach the female or the stigma. Here you have to remember the pollen grain structure, which is sticky and is covered with mucilage to prevent wetting. So it is clear over here. This is in real photo I've got. This is in seagrasses. This you have to remember, Zostera in marine, it is completely submerged. Even the flowers are also submerged. Okay, when I say submerged inside the water, okay, here it was, the flower is emerging out. Male as well as female flowers are emerging out on the surface, but still it requires the medium of water to meet each other. Okay, whereas in case of Zostera, seagrass, it is submerged hydrophyte. It is hydrophyte, and also the flowers are submerged. So just for the pollen grain structure, it is ribbon shaped, long, spiral shaped. Okay, here the pollen grain has mucilaginous covering to prevent wetting, and it is carried passively by water currents. So this is your seagrass. You can see the fishes on top. This is a seagrass, Zostera. Please note, hydrophytes like water lily, water hyacinth, which you have studied before. Your water hyacinth is your Eichhornia. Those all are your anemophilic or zoophilic. Insects means zoophilic, anemo means wind. So just remember, those are other hydrophytes which don't require water as pollination, as an agent of pollination. So it requires some other agent, that is your wind and insects. So just for a common feature between the wind and water pollinated flowers, they are not colorful, the flowers are not colorful, and there is no nectar formed. Okay, there is not even the fragrance. Even fragrance is not there. That's why there is no attraction of insects towards the flower. Okay, and it requires water as the medium. Yes. So if you have any doubts, if you do have, please contact me. Please do ask and answer these questions and submit it before 10 o'clock. Yes, thank you students.